Hello there and welcome to Cannonball Diva Chronicles, where uplifting the downtrodden is our focus. There's a story that has been going online in the last week about a woman in an abusive relationship in Nigeria, living in the city of Aba in the eastern region of Nigeria, who experienced 11 years of abuse at the hands of her husband after having 5 children for him. And there's a little bit of commentary going about this woman who happens to be disempowered and who keeps going back to the marriage even after he had physically abused her and left injuries on her. There was one picture of her, a video of her showing her with a gash on her face. It's like a coin-sized abrasion on her face with the skin torn open. And many people are shocked that this woman keeps going back. The first time she involved the human rights activist, a man by the name of Harrison from the human rights activist department got involved to help her, bring her out when her sister cried out in alarm about how abusive this woman's husband was to her. And this sister was crying profusely online, on social media, begging for the help and pleading for the help of the community to get involved in saving her sister's life, because her sister's husband, was very physically, emotionally, and verbally abusive towards her. And while she was crying for her sister and begging for the help of the public to intervene, her sister was standing behind her. I'll post the video of this also at the end of this video. Her sister was crying behind her and was obviously distraught. You could see her with the injury on her face, and how desperate the situation was conveyed by how the sister was appealing for the help of the public to intervene. And if you remember correctly, in the last few weeks, we've had a few people who have lost their lives. The latest video I showed you and I posted was about a woman who slept and never woke up. The woman had been abused for many years by her husband, who beat her profusely at many occasions. And even the neighbors got involved, and she eventually lost her life because after the husband had beaten her, the latest time he had beaten her, she never woke up from it after she went to sleep. So obviously, when we hear about this kind of assault against a woman who is begging openly for help, everybody wants to get involved. Everybody is really interested in helping to make sure that is not the eventuality for her. Nobody wants anyone to lose their lives in marriage or in any way. So people got involved, even some social media, I would say actresses and social media people who had the power to help got involved. One of which I believe they said Mercy Johnson was one of them. She's an actress in Nollywood. And she got involved. I'm not sure about the capacity of her involvement, but I remember them saying that she was involved to try and help this lady save her life by bringing her out of this situation. Apparently, after this woman had been, after the police had gotten involved, they'd taken this man and his wife to the police station. And Harrison, the man involved in the domestic violence department, had taken there and gotten involved. Her husband had then come there and they had videotaped him going down on his knees, begging this woman to forgive him. Begging this woman to forgive him, and this woman was crying, begging, leaning away from him as he knelt down beside her. She was sitting, she was leaning away, obviously distraught, crying her eyes out, saying no. And but eventually, before they left the police station, unfortunately, she accepted his apologies. I'm using the word unfortunately because it takes an iron heart to decide not to succumb to the fake pleas of an abusive monster. They are very good at begging and pretending that they are sorry. They are very good at that. And I fear for this woman's life. I would appeal to the social media in-laws who have actually been involved in this woman's case, who are now deciding to turn their back on her because they believe she has gone back to a brutish and wicked husband after they tried to help her. It's not her fault because the stages of abuse and years of abuse have taken their toll on her. And even though you might expect her to just get up and stand up to this man at this point and refuse to go back, it's almost virtually impossible because she hasn't done the groundwork it would take for her to actually be able to stand on her own 2 feet and survive on her own. Because at the end of the day, if she leaves him, even though she really wants to leave him, it's apparent that she wants to leave this relationship, she hasn't prepared herself financially, even emotionally, or in any other way it might seem, to be able to afford being able to care for herself and her 5 children, because everyone knows that most women will not leave their 5 children or they even one child with an abusive husband, because the man might end up taking his anger and wrath out on that child. A man that can physically harm the mother of his children, you can imagine what he will do to the children. It follows that a man that hates the wife, I've heard this before, would also eventually have some kind of resentment against the children and would not put their eye on them to actually look at them as their own children, to care for them the way they should. So this woman, I'm sure, would want to take the children. If she was empowered enough, she would want to take these children with her if she were to leave. Now, is she able to afford to take care of these children on her own? It wasn't mentioned whether she had a skill or a job. Like I've mentioned in one of the videos before, if a woman is in a relationship that's abusive, the worst thing she can do is to be completely financially reliant on the abuser, because that is one of the reasons they can do as they please. And they believe they've made themselves a god to that person that they're abusing and believe they can determine whatever happens to that person. This woman now is stuck in a trap of a very abusive cycle where this man keeps begging. He'll beg her and she'll forgive him and go back. But the peace won't last. It won't last long enough. And the fear I have now is that, just like the boy that cried wolf, every time he cried wolf and people ran to his defense and came to the point to realize that there was no wolf there, they eventually stopped believing him when a real wolf did show up. And in this woman's case, the second time she went back, after this man had she came back crying out and saying that no, she did not want this man. She was coerced into agreeing to go back to him in the police station, that the DPO was begging her and making eyes and cutting eyes at her and telling her, no, don't say you're not going to go back, when the man was on his knees and she was saying no. She said she blamed the DPO for her capitulation and agreeing to stay in that marriage. She said that it was the DPO that made her decide to say yes and go back to the abuser, and that she really didn't mean it. So the second time around, she came out and begged and said, really, she wants the help of the public. I'll post that video as well. She wants the help of the public, please. She doesn't want to be in this marriage, please. And she was crying desperately online. That is the vicious cycle of someone who's fervent, who is very desperate to escape the hands of her abuser. This woman is crying for help. Regardless of what she's saying, regardless of how she goes back to this man and appears to be happy, it's all fake and it's all acting, because that man has a way of terrorizing and terrifying her to make her agree to stay 1 minute, but then the next minute, when his fangs and his vampire teeth show, she's running away again. I plead to our social media in-laws not to give up on her, because it might seem as if she's not grateful, because the second time around she came out smiling and shining her teeth as if, oh, now we are back together again. After saying no, the DPO coerced her, she came out again to show her and her husband lovey-dovey and with his arm around her. And this person, I don't even know what to call this, her husband, put his face towards the camera and smiling from ear to ear with his big teeth. I'm telling you, that is an abuser right there. And if this man doesn't take her life, oh, I would give praise to God Almighty, because the way this is going, this woman now is going to feel really embarrassed to come out the third time and cry out for help. A woman who needs help usually will go back more than 7 times before they finally leave an abusive relationship. It's not a one-time thing. There are stages to leaving an abusive relationship, and there are stages to break up. I'm sure this woman has already passed the initial stages of a breakup. One of them is denial. I think she has passed that stage of denying that she's in a bad relationship or a toxic relationship. She herself has accepted that he's abusive, so she has passed that stage. Second stage is anger. I'm sure she has gone through periods where she has been angry with him, angry at herself, judging herself, kicking herself. How did she find herself in this situation? How can she help herself and her children? Being angry that she's helpless and hopeless in this situation and unable to even care for herself and her children in the eye of these brutal attacks. The third one is bargaining, telling herself, well, there must be some positivity about this marriage. He's good in this area. He's good. Maybe he provides food and shelter. Okay, let me base my staying back with him on those 2 things that he's providing, because I can't provide these things for my children. So she's bargaining on, okay, can I deal with this abuse at the expense of my children just because he's providing for us? And she has dealt with that already, I'm sure, because for her to have come out in the public and voice her dismay and her fear of being in that marriage, she has passed that stage of bargaining. The fourth one is depression. Everybody can see that this woman has passed depression. For her to come out and speak out, not even having any shame at all, crying out loud and begging, her sister has come out and begged. She's crying for help. And the fifth one is acceptance. She has accepted now. I think this is the stage where she's at. She has accepted that she is in an abusive relationship, and she has thrown shame out the window. She has thrown every precaution out the window. Whatever wants to happen, let it happen. She's begging us for help. So that is the stage where she is. So even if she goes back, the man is drawing her back to bargaining. He's drawing her back 2 steps now to the bargaining phase, where she's bargaining and saying, okay, he's on his knees here in the police station begging me, looking really remorseful. He has never gone on his knees before, so maybe he has changed. Maybe he's really changed this time. Maybe I should give him a chance. And then when she decides to give him a chance and went back home, it probably showed her that all that was acting, and showed her how brutal he could be again. Maybe he beat her again, and then she ran out again. I don't know how long it took for her to come out the second time, but she eventually came out again to cry and beg that the DPO coerced her, and she wasn't really interested in remaining in the marriage because she could see that he had not really changed. And then he came again with a different tactic to tell her whatever promises he made the second time around that made her agree to smile and show her teeth and smile from ear to ear with his arms around her on video. This man is just playing the social media in-laws. He just wants to show that he has power over her. That's all. He's getting a big kick and thrill from being able to manipulate her to the point where 1 minute she's crying, the next minute she's there, and he's the one getting all the glory and attention. What a narcissist. If there were ever a narcissist, this is one. Because look at him, grinning from ear to ear, happy that he's getting all this negative attention. Because a narcissist likes attention, be it negative or positive. They don't care. He doesn't care that he's beating his wife and he's an animal for that. How would he feel if someone were to hurt him and put a big bruise on his face the way he has done to his wife? I'm sure he wouldn't tolerate anyone doing that to him. But obviously, he feels sorry is enough. And he's coming now out on social media with his arms around her and grinning from ear to ear, feeling he has the right after what he has done, without therapy, without counseling, without any obvious kind of help to manage his anger against his wife. Just coming out and thinking, putting his arms around her is enough, and smiling and saying, we are back together, smiling. The wife too is smiling. Unfortunately, I can see the fear behind the smile. You know, this is one of the situations where you want to tell the woman, blink 3 times if you need our help. But this is true life. This is a real life trauma happening to this woman. And, you know, the 3rd time she's going to come out, she probably wouldn't want to come out because she wouldn't have the liver to come out the 3rd time to say, I didn't mean it after the 2nd video. That is what this husband's desire and aim is, by making himself obviously coming out every time, comes out on the video to smile. He knows that the long rope social media in-laws have given them is getting shorter. And every time he comes out to say we're back together, they are getting tired of the whole scenario and they are giving up and throwing in the towel, saying, you guys deserve each other. You guys are on your own. And he's hoping they're going to give up on her so he can really now turn his anger and wrath on her. And when that time comes, she's going to look around and have no one, not even the social media in-laws, to call on for help. And that is his hope. He knows what he's doing. He's playing that game. He's playing that game because he's going to even mock her with it and say, look at you. You've cried. You've come. Next thing you are coming smiling with her. You're not the one coming to cry and the next minute you're going there to smile. Look at them. They don't have time for you. You're stupid. And if you even insult her and mock her, that's even going to increase her grief because she's going to look around and know that he's right. She can't keep going back and forth. And my fear now is that this woman has put herself into a thicker and even a bigger trap by doing this, by not actually having a means of livelihood to stand on, not actually having someone that she can lean on. And in this kind of situation, a woman that does not have financial backup will capitulate eventually, because when you look around, the social media in-laws are just there to actually verbalize their discontent at what is happening with this man. Those who are really active and who have the means can actually go further to help financially. But one person can't do much. It takes a group, it takes a village to help a woman like this, or women in this kind of situation. In the Western world, when a woman is abused by a husband or by by whoever it is in her relationship, her partner, they don't just counsel her and counsel the man. First of all, the man is arrested. He's arrested and kept far away from her. which is the first stage in protecting her physical health, mental health, and emotional health. Because when the man is far away from her, he cannot manipulate her, he cannot physically harm her, he cannot beg her, all this fake begging that he's begging, he'll be far away from her. So that is the first step. This man has to be removed. She has to be removed from that environment. She and her children have to have the kind of help that can actually remove her where this man cannot reach her. That is why they have restraining order in place. Because many abusers will go back to beg. They will go back to promise things that they can never fulfill. They will go back to say things that they don't really mean, just in order to go back to the status quo. Because they enjoy being in that position of power over the abused victim. They enjoy it. So they don't want anything to change. They just want you to quickly accept the apology and then go back to status quo. The next 2 days or next 3 days, they're back to boxing gloves again. That is why we have restraining order in the Western world. I'm sure this is common sense. Most people know this already. But this woman in Nigeria, we do not have restraining order. Okay, when the the people that came to help her in the Harrison came to help, in the Department of Abuse that came to help her, were they going to actually restrain this man from reaching her? How would they have achieved that, is my question, in a place like Nigeria? Would they have given her a house? Or would they have taken her to a place where she could have been protected from him? From all indications, she would have still been in the same house with her children. Now, if the man had been removed in Nigeria now, who would have cared for her and provided for her a house and home and food and everything else that she had been relying on him? In a place like, in most Western countries, that is already taken care of by social services. That is why we have social services in place. So even if the man is jailed, the woman automatically gets a different home. They provide a house. It might not be the most fancy house, but a house that's big enough for she and her 5 children. You see why a lot of women like to flee and go to the Western world? A lot of women would opt to leave Nigeria because we don't have all these things in place in Nigeria. This woman now, you think if you provided a home for her, money, house, and everything she needs, would she ever agree to go back to no matter how much he begged her, would she ever agree to go back? The answer is no. That is my belief. The answer is no. So the only reason she went back after his begging was because maybe she just bargained and said to herself, what more can I do? If I leave him, who's going to care? Who's going to provide for me? All these people now are helping me say leave him. Who's going to help me? So she needs all these things in place to start with in order to now have herself and her children in the best environment, a peaceful, conducive environment, to be able to make choices that would indeed benefit her and her children and positively impact their livelihood. People who are saying go and empower yourself, it's not as easy. How can you empower yourself when you are being beaten day and night? Can you just imagine a woman that is being slapped, beaten, injured? Your mind is not at rest. According in the way they say it in Nigeria, your mind no go reach ground for you to now say, let me go and empower myself, go and start a business. When you are trying to survive, when somebody is threatening your life every day, the last thing on your mind is thinking about, how can I go and make a business? You can't even focus. Where is the money even going to come from to start with? There's so many obstacles in the path of a woman like this, who is disenfranchised, impoverished, marginalized. She doesn't have any other way to go but back to that abusive environment where that man is waiting like a monster, ready to do and undo anything that will cause her harm. He doesn't care. So a woman like this now needs more than just talk. I am worried about her. I'm worried about what's happening when nobody is there, because this man definitely is going to punish her for bringing him out and showing his true colors. He's going to punish her for it, whether we know it or not, or whether we like it or not. He is going to punish her. She is going to pay. And she's going to be too embarrassed to come out the third time and say she wants out. She's just going to sit there and wait for the inevitable. I pray that it doesn't come to that. Please watch the videos and then comment what your thoughts are. In a place like Nigeria, how can we help a woman like this? What are the steps that can be taken to indeed remove her from this kind of situation, to empower her and to help her maintain a livelihood for her and her children? Thank you so much for tuning into Cannonball Diva Chronicles. Please stay blessed and please stay loving to your loved ones. Bye-bye.
She called me this morning with her neighbor's phone. She told me that her husband beat her. Like,
This my sister has been suffering in the marriage. Guys, we need your help. Guys, we need your help. Everybody, we need your help. They said that we don't have anybody, that nobody will save for us. Guys, please, we need your help. See my sister here. See my sister, guys. Go see what she needs. You do to my sister. Guys, please, we need your help. Everybody, we need your help. Guys, please, we need your help. She has 5 children. 5 children. I have 2 evidence. This is not the first time. This is not the second time he has been beating us. My sister, guys, please, we need you people's help. Guys, we need your help, please, guys, please.
And guys, it wasn't the best time for us to hear stuff like this. It was a very, very sensitive time for us.
I live with my husband. I was telling them that I don't want to. I don't want.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Human rights activists.